Diane with Biters.
And this is Marnell, and I am not the new cast person for this time. We have a special guest. Special guest, would you like to reveal yourself?
Hi, my name is Tom.
Our special guest tonight is Thomas O'Mara. We are podcasting the very first episode of The Walking Dead, Days Gone By.
And you know, I'm going to tell you guys a confession. I know that Brian and I, when we had our first off season, we actually did do some sort of retrospective, but I don't think we did a retrospective of season one. I think it was more favorite episodes. I hope it was.
So, and when I did the rewatch, I was like, oh, I'm going to go back and listen to Kirk and Jeff do the very first episode. And I did not realize, because I was a late in life Biters fan, I did not realize they did not start from the beginning. They started from season 4. So I had to go to, I tried another podcast, and I think they started in season 3, and I started another podcast, and they finally started in season 1. And I have to tell you that I really think that, Biters is right up there with the podcasting for the Walking Dead. So we do very well, but I listen to them, and I normally don't do that because I try not to taint myself with, somebody else's thoughts about an episode, but I did listen, and, so yeah, I'm very excited to be able to go all the way back to the beginning for Biters.
Which is perfect,
well,
right?
It's the best episode.
Yes.
And it's perfect with the way season 7 ended. To circle back to episode 1 because of the way that Maggie tied Glenn and Rick in their first meeting. When Glenn reached out to Rick in the tank. So
yeah,
I don't know about you guys. I watched that scene and I rewatched that scene. I must have watched that scene about 30 times already.
The scene in the tank or the finale?
No. The finale with that speech by Mag. Because to me, this finale was by far the best finale that the show has had, and that whole little monologue that Maggie gives at the end, it's like it brings tears to your eyes almost, because she brings back everything from the beginning.
You actually just gave me chills.
Yeah.
And
then to end on the pocket watch. I mean, I was standing behind Greg Nicotero when I was watching this, and I think I had tears coming down my eyes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Herschel's pocket watch. I was watching when I was watching the pilot episode again. Who is the older guy?
Dale.
With Dale. I was like, The only thing missing from this episode is Herschel. Like, it melted my heart. All the old cast members.
It's a great throwback.
Yeah, it's all, I can't tell you how many times I've watched the pilot now, and it's always a pleasure.
So I also was under the misinformation that The Walking Dead, because season 1 was only 6 episodes, I thought it was a mid-season replacement for something, but it wasn't.
I believe it started on Halloween.
It did.
Yep.
It did.
I personally, I didn't start it at that point. I didn't get into it until season 2. I had to catch up.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I know that it did. Well, the funny thing is, I went to a horror convention in New Jersey. My friends created a line of horror dolls, so they invited me to the convention, and I go down, and she's walking me around. Her name's Jen, and she's walking me around. She walks me into a room. She's like, "Oh, this is the cast from this new show, The Walking Dead."
Oh, my God!
I had never heard of it. You had Norman Reedus sitting there. You had Stephen Yeun, Addie Miller. You had Lori. You had Dale. You had about 10 of the cast members sitting there. And the autographs were like $10 each, free photos.
God.
So we just walked by. I waved hi, and I went home. And as soon as I got home, I'm like, "Oh, let me check out this show, The Walking Dead," and that's when it started.
I was wondering about that because you're such a super fan. For those of you who are new to the page, Thomas is our major super fan who we are all very envious of his life because he goes to so many of the cons and the cruises, and he gets to meet the cast members and hang out, and he's got some awesome pictures. Right now he's got a new video up on the website, on the Biters Facebook page, so go check that out.
And I throw a party every Sunday night at a bar in New York City.
Yeah, so if you're in New York.
Yeah.
If you're in New York, Bar 9, New York City.
That's so amazing. We are all so jelly.
I actually think of you as our roving field correspondent.
I'll do live reports from Mexico on the next cruise.
Gosh. I was going to say you have to do live reports from the cruise. Yes.
You
got to come on the cruise.
Oh God,
we will chip in and pay for your international data on your phone.
So for those who may not know, tell everybody what the big deal about this year's cruise is.
Well, this year's cruise, they announced actually last Monday that first off, Norman Reedus and Jeffrey Dean Morgan are returning. They came last year. But the big news is that Mr. Robert Kirkman has decided to join the cruise, and he's coming for the 4 days. He is so hard to find. He never does conventions. He does like the big one, like New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con, and that's it.
The cruise has to be sold out at this point. Like, is there any?
No, we haven't even booked it yet.
Oh,
they haven't even given us our booking times. But if you had cruised before, you get first priority.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I've been on the first two, so I'm going to get one of the early booking times, so I'll basically be able to get any kind of room that I want.
Very nice.
So, I mean, I think this one will sell out pretty quick just because of Robert Kirkman.
Yeah.
And not the Caribbean this year, Mexico this year.
Right, and we're leaving from New Orleans.
Oh, awesome.
It's New Orleans to what's that island in Mexico? Can't think of the name of it now. But we're going to I can't think of the name, but we're going from New Orleans to Mexico, and it's 4 days this year instead of 3.
Nice.
The last 2 have been 3. So really looking forward to it.
So envious.
Yeah, I was saying before we signed on, definitely Atlanta and the cruise are goals, but life changes this year, so maybe next year.
Well, start playing Lotto.
Yeah, there you go. Except we don't have that up here.
You don't have Alaska Lotto.
You don't have Lotto in Alaska?
No.
Wow.
I could go to a bar and do pull tabs, but that's about it.
I guess they wouldn't know how to ship the money up there.
Hey, we got legal weed, so.
Trust me, if I wanted that in New York, I could get it.
Okay, this is so bad, and I probably shouldn't say this publicly, so everybody just erase after you hear this, but we actually have a new dispensary about 10 miles south of us, and my husband is in a uniformed position, shall I say that? And I was teasing him the other night, and I said, so do you wear your uniform when you stop by the dispensary? He was like, no.
I'm surprised you have a greenhouse. Why do you not grow your own? I have 6 plants right now.
I do not have a greenhouse anymore. We have a field with horses.
You need a greenhouse.
Nah, meh.
Well, a couple of years ago, Stephen Young was taking selfies inside a dispensary in Denver.
Really?
Yeah, people were posting pictures. Hey, we just ran into Glenn in whatever dispensary.
Oh, that's cool. That's super cool.
Yeah. Colorado's got their act together. And now they have Stephen Yun.
What did I see about him recently? He's got a new movie or a new series coming out?
There's some... Oh, I saw a trailer for something. It had a weird name.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was animated. I don't know if it was animated or CG, but it had to do with these animals, these like giant pigs or something that people wanted to capture and eat.
Bo the donkey in The Star.
Bo the donkey must be the one.
That's not the one. That's not the one that I saw.
Okay, there's also he's the voice of Tony Chu in Chu. And Chu CHU, Tony Chu CHU, and the movie or show Chu CHEW. So he's got a couple things that are coming out that he's going to voice for. So
and he had his feature role. He had a feature role in Joe Lynch's Mayhem. Which, he did. It's like a horror movie. I don't think they have distribution yet, so I don't think it's going to be in theaters yet. But but it's been winning. It's been winning a lot of awards at all the festivals.
Cool.
So he's a good guy. So he deserves it.
Yeah.
And it has a virus infection theme in it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Is that
Lots of blood.
Talk about typecasting.
Mayhem or the pig? The pig one has the virus theme.
Mayhem has the virus theme.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, so
funny.
back to Days Gone By. How did you guys individually rate it?
I rated it 5 shovels to the face. And I know that I have said that I don't rate episodes 5 because you can't go anywhere from there. But this was the pilot episode. And when I rewatched it, it took me back to when I watched it for the first time, and it hooks you. Yeah. I mean, the pacing of the episode is just amazing. I mean, you start off and you have that first zombie kill, and then you kind of go back in time a little, but there's still a ton of action, and then it just keeps up from there, and it just hooks you. And they, I wasn't a fan of the books, and so I don't know how true it was, but from everything that I heard, it stayed very true to the books. It the fans absolutely loved it. So I rated it 5 shovels to the face.
Tom, what about you?
I've never read the comics, so I can't talk about that. I'm not going to read them until the show's done. But by far, it's a 5. I mean, I guess 5 hot prison showers out of 5.
Awesome.
Because I mean, it's probably one of the best pilots. I think in my life, there's been maybe 3 pilots that I think stand out. One's Lost, one is NYPD Blue, and Walking Dead.
So, and for me, and I don't know if this is true for you guys, there are certain shows that just hit the mark for you, and you divide your television watching into before that show and after that show. And, right? For me, and I think for a lot of fans, this is the dividing point of everything has to sort of, come up a level for The Walking Dead, because TV before this just wasn't the same. And now there's a lot to live up to with The Walking Dead because of this pilot episode, because of the Kirkman and this long running series. It's just, how can you, I'm going to be shocked if Diane does not rate it a 5.
Oh, of course I rated it.
Oh, she's got it. She's not going to. No way is she going to give it less than a 5.
So this is a nod to Officer Leon Bassett. It's 5 rounds in the chambers and safety's off.
That was a pretty good scene.
Well, I have later on. Remind me in the potpourri. There's something about Leon Bassett that I got to tell you.
Very cool. So I just wanted to kind of second what Marnell said, which is that, I really think that shows like Preacher and American Gods, which are my other 2 big loves right now, they're natural heirs to The Walking Dead. They would not be possible had it not been for The Walking Dead.
Absolutely. And I really think that The Walking Dead started out comic books. I know that we had a lot of movies before, like Batman and Spider-Man and Superman and things like that. But I don't think we had ever seen it on the small screen before. And it was done, and it was done right. And it paved the way for everybody else. I mean, I don't even think you would see the Netflix series with the Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones, things like that. I really think it paved the way for a lot of these shows to come to fruition.
I think so.
Do you know that HBO passed on Walking Dead?
I saw that.
They said that it was too violent, and then they put out Game of Thrones years later.
Can you imagine that some executive somewhere just beats his head into a wall every day?
Well, I'm sure he's not working at HBO anymore.
You're fired.
He's working for the CW now.
Yeah, he's working at some public access cable channel in Alaska.
The CW has quality programming. Got Flash and Arrow and Rain, and we're finishing up the Vampire Diaries. Quality programming.
Yeah. Okay. Next subject.
Quality family programming. I mean, this. So the very first scene in this episode, is so talked about, and
Okay, wait, you were skipping.
I am just a little bit, but my other half was arguing that they didn't actually show the little girl getting shot in the head. And rewatching it, we were like, they did.
They did.
Yeah.
They did it.
Oh no, I can tell you. I mean, I'm friends with Addie and her mom, and I've been to the location where they shot that scene, and they actually
Check it out
told
on Facebook.
me.
He has a video.
Yeah, it's on Facebook. It's on the Biters page.
Right on.
They actually told me that it's a rule. Like, there's a rule where you can't shoot a child point blank on TV, and they weren't going to use that scene. And I think it was Frank Darabont that had to go in and fight and said, "Hey, look, this isn't a little girl. This is a monster."
Good for him.
And eventually they got it, and it kind of made history.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I'm skipping ahead a little bit too, but that was the thing that was the thing that hooked me. I mean, that cold open, I'm sure that my jaw was on the floor for the rest of the episode because of the cold open.
Oh, yeah. It's the best open of any TV show in history of TV. In my
agree.
Opinion.
Again,
I mean, I have it tattooed on my leg.
Right. Also on the Biters page if people care to look.
Again, there was TV. There was TV both before The Walking Dead, and now there is TV after. And 7 seasons. We're going on 8 seasons in, and still going strong. So, yeah.
And even with season 7 being somewhat uneven, they finished on such a high.
Yeah.
That 8, I'm really looking forward to 8.
Like I said, best finale.
Yeah.
I mean, can you pick a better finale of the other 6 seasons? I mean, I can't. I've watched this one over and over again, and when Shiva jumps out, I mean,
oh god, that was so great.
Obviously, it's such a trope that Shiva jumps at the exact right moment at the exact right person.
Right.
But I mean, I was standing there, and like I said, in the bar, the entire bar basically jumped up and started screaming.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, now I don't want to go to a con. Now I want to go to the 9 on either
bar 9.
Bar 9 on season open night or a season finale night.
Actually, season opening night. I was talking the other night. I think Addie might come.
Nice.
Don't tell me that, because it's like a crazy 16-hour plane ride from Alaska.
Well, I'll Facebook Live it or something.
Just drink lots of water, do your foot pumps so you don't get a DVT, and go.
Yeah. Can't guarantee it. She said she wants to. But
this is Thomas, the on-scene correspondent for Biters, reporting live.
Well, we didn't know for the finale. Like, I do every episode at the bar, and for the premiere we get a good crowd. For the middle episodes you get an okay crowd. For the finale we always get a great crowd, and we didn't know until 3:00 that day when someone from Walker Stalker called the bar. They saw something I posted, and they called the bar, and they said, "Hey," and the owner called them back, said, "Yeah, Greg wants to come watch, and he's going to bring Seth." And then when Greg got there and I sat him down, he's like, "Do you do raffle and trivia? You want me to help? And you want me to stay and answer questions?"
If you did not have social media proof of all of this, I would be like, liar.
Plenty of proof. I didn't even know someone was recording the whole thing. That was the best part. Someone recorded the entire after part, which was great.
Awesome.
Which I think I put also on the Biters page.
Yes. If you guys have not watched the stuff from the season finale that Thomas posted, please do, because it's really cool.
Live vicariously through Thomas.
No.
So
if anyone wants to pay my bills.
Yeah, no kidding. You'd be happy to just go to cons all the time.
Yeah. Pay my bills. Live vicariously through me.
But they also have to buy you a $400 bottle of scotch every couple months.
Oh, yeah. We don't need to.
I did skip ahead a little. We had just finished we had all rated it a 5, and I think Diane was going to go into the numbers. So I will be the enforcer and keep us on track for the episode.
Where's Brian when you need him?
Right. Brian's already, if he's listening, he's like, oh, come on.
Brian,
just get to it already.
This episode of 3.
So it just had some numbers from viewing. So most of us know that it had the biggest premiere in AMC's history. It was 5.35 million.
Yes.
The first showing. But I didn't realize that they had actually done 2 encore presentations after that.
And it raised it.
Yeah, it popped it up to 8.1 million, which is the highest viewed telecast ever.
Did they do one in black and white? If I'm not mistaken, I don't know.
Like
I wasn't watching
season,
back then, like I said.
2 seasons ago, something they re-aired it in black and white.
Right, and I think you
sure
can.
If they did it right away.
I think you can get it on the DVD, right?
I'm not sure, but I know it was here recently within the past couple of years that you could rewatch it in black and white. It does add a creepiness factor to it.
Really?
I thought you had watched it. It is very like Night of the Living Dead. It adds a little bit of creepiness to it that it's in black and white.
Cool. Very cool.
I'll have to watch.
So about the title, you guys, I am so embarrassed to admit. So I always thought days gone by, days that are long gone, days that we've lost. I didn't realize by was spelled B-Y-E.
B-Y-E.
Until I was rewatching. And I'm like, oh, how could I have missed that?
Yeah, that was the best part.
So just a little thing on the title. I learned an interesting piece of trivia. I bet Marnell doesn't know this, no offense, sis, but I bet Tom does. Charlie Adlard played a walker in this episode.
Really? I didn't know that.
I was just looking for episode 1 trivia, and I ran across that, and I thought that is really cool.
Which one's Charlie Adlard?
Which walk? He's the artist that draws the comic book.
They didn't say, they just were like uncredited walker. So who knows? I mean, he was a walker in the crowd, or maybe he's one of the walkers on the bus or something like that.
He may have been the one that Rick took out first after meeting Morgan when he came out with the bat.
Right. Okay, and I have to ask you, and this is Writing Potpourri, so again, I'm skipping ahead. Is that a tribute zombie? Because I looked at that and it looks like a zombie from a Romero film. Just the whole character of kind of the Undertaker.
Honestly, I don't think Greg started doing the tribute zombies that early.
Okay.
I would hazard to guess that. I don't know for sure. Because you started to see a lot more of them later on.
Right.
I think maybe he got the idea.
Okay,
I don't know if he did one in the pilot.
I think I know who Charlie Adler was.
Oh, okay. Who do you think he was?
Okay, so in
Bicycle Girl.
Interesting trivia about her. She's actually played a zombie in another movie before.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But Charlie Adler, he looks like, and I can't find any actual pictures of him as the zombie, but towards the end of the episode, do you guys remember the zombie when Rick was going by on the horse and the zombie gets up and gets out of the bus?
Yes, and he has those evil eyes.
No, that's not.
That's not him?
I can tell you actually exactly who that is.
Oh, right on.
Oh, that totally looks like him.
No, that the guy that gets out of the bus, he's called, I think he ends up climbing up on the tank.
Yes. Or he ends up
that is
like staring at the tank. But he shows
that's
up
not
again.
Charlie Adler. I know exactly who that is. That I found this out. I went on a tour in Atlanta, and they take you to a bunch of sites, and the guys that are leading the tour are walkers.
Oh, cool.
Former walkers. And they told us that zombie or that walker was, when they pitched the show, Greg Nicotero had there was a guy that worked in makeup and worked in the special effects room that had like these features and stuff. So when they pitched the show, they made him up as a walker, and then they ended up using him, and he ended up being that I forgot, they had a nickname for him. I forgot what it was, but he ended up being the guy that got out of the bus and went onto the tank.
Oh, that's cool.
So it wasn't Charlie Adler, that I know.
Well, so the zombie that they put down when they all came out of the house in the morning after the first night that Rick spends with Morgan and Dwayne also looks a little bit facially like that zombie, like the bus zombie, but it's not the same actor. So I kind of wonder if maybe that was Adler.
So the Walking Dead podcast actually has a big index of photos that they have, and they have pictures of Charlie Adler as a zombie. and he's wearing kind of a brownish shirt and a brownish and blue necktie.
Okay, you need to post that on the Facebook page.
Okay. Okay, I will see what we can do about that.
Yeah, that's the one that I know it's not the tank zombie. That I know.
So I'm going to just say a little bit about Frank Darabont, since he wrote the teleplay for the first episode and since he directed the first episode. And this is what made me think that Brian and I, in our retrospective, talked about the pilot, because I remembered when seeing this on his IMDb. So he actually was born in a refugee camp in France in 1959 because his parents were refugees from the fall of Budapest in 1956. So I just think his history is really interesting. And, I mean, people know, you guys probably know that he
also directed one of my favorite movies of all time.
I was going to say Stephen King, right?
It's based on a Stephen King story, but every time you turn on the TV, it's on one of those channels.
So
the Shawshank Redemption.
I was going to say, is it Shawshank or is it Green Mile? Because he did both.
Oh, well, no, mine is Shawshank. Shawshank is one of the best movies ever made.
And then
he also did The Mist,
which is where we get the connection with Laurie Holden and
Melissa McBride.
Oh, I didn't realize Melissa was in it. I've never watched it, so
yeah. Oh, it's a great movie.
Oh, right.
It is. They're making it into a series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It had I think it had Melissa. It had Jeffrey. It had Laurie Holden. I thought there was one more, but I'm not positive.
It's just always so interesting to look and see where they all have connections.
That's the movie where they got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think Melissa McBride, after The Mist, decided she wasn't going to act anymore.
Oh, thank God somebody changed her mind.
And Frank Darabont came to her when they were starting The Walking Dead and said, "Hey, I want you to do this role." And she came out of. I think she was doing casting, but she came out of retirement to come back for The Walking Dead.
Could you imagine The Walking Dead without Carol?
You might have to in about a season or so.
Oh God, I know. I hope not, but yeah, I wouldn't put it past anybody at this point.
Though I'm okay with I'm becoming more and more okay with people dying. Like after Glenn, my last holdout, of course, is Daryl, but you got to keep it fresh, See,
I have mixed emotions on Daryl. I mean, Daryl's the nicest guy in person. You meet him, but I think he's getting too big for the show. I think they need to kill him.
Well,
I mean, I'm gonna get death threats probably for saying this. But
now you're gonna be the person who's quitting.
Yeah, I'm gonna quit social media now, like Alana and Josh.
Which, by the way, I just want to say out loud while we're on that subject, the people who harangued Alana Masterson and Josh McDermott off of social media suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Alana came back.
That's what
back
you'd
now.
said. Yeah.
Josh is still not back, and I'm gonna give him the biggest hug in Nashville next weekend. It's his birthday weekend, actually.
Well, give him props from Biters because.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
Maybe I'll see if he do a little opening.
Oh, right on. That'd be really cool.
We don't even hate Eugene. Like, we get it. We get why you're Negan now. We get it. But we don't even hate Eugene. So why would we hate Josh McDermott? So
I still think he has a master plan, but
I'm hoping of all hope.
Because he still has one pill left.
He does, but I'm not sure how he's going to redeem himself with our group unless it's a big master plan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he will.
Whatever happens, Josh McDermott has taken that character on an amazing arc.
Yeah.
And he's the nicest guy in the world. No one should be sending him death threats and talking bad to him. I mean, he's a character. If you go to Josh and talk to him, he is the nicest guy. He will spend like 10 minutes talking to you.
Okay, and bless him for wearing the Tennessee top hat in real life and not relying on a wig. Like that takes some serious method acting and some commitment to the character. So bless him.
Man, I couldn't imagine him without it at this point. It's like I could not picture him without that Tennessee top hat.
I think he said his wife is still a little mortified, though. I seem to remember him saying that on A Talking Dead.
Maybe she was sending him death threats.
Oh! Get off Twitter. Well, so the other thing that I wanted to say about Frank Darabont is I knew that there was the whole drama about him being forced out as the showrunner. I didn't realize that he was forced out halfway through season 2. I actually thought he had completed season 2, and there are people who were involved with the production who described crisis level problems at the beginning of season 2 because of the way that AMC cut the budget. They basically cut it from $3.4 million per episode to $3 million per episode, which, to those of us doesn't seem like a lot, right? Exactly. But when you're thinking
the difference between having a good CGI deer and a horrible CGI deer.
Yes, exactly. And I guess the other
really
thing
interesting considering how well it was doing by that point.
Well, the other thing is they cut into the profit sharing that they had worked out with him. So,
and that's the reason that Dale died when he did.
Right, because
Jeffrey DeMunn is good friends with him and decided, I don't want to be on the show anymore if you're going to do that to him.
Which is really, I mean, Dale's death was great and it had meaning, but it really sucked to lose that character.
Well, he was the moral compass.
Yeah.
That's what happens to every moral compass in the show.
And I'm not sure that we've got one back.
Maggie.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if I'd put Maggie there. I would put Father Gabriel there before I put Maggie there.
Really? Well, Gabe has come a long way.
He's come a long way.
Yeah.
I think Maggie would do whatever
Jesus.
it takes.
Jesus could be the moral compass.
Because Maggie has to live to have Glenn's baby. So,
Maggie's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Maggie's going to be good.
If the next moral compass has to die, it's going to have to be Jesus.
I just think it's really funny that we're talking about Jesus as the moral compass of the show.
And we've diverged so far from Frank Darabont and the premiere episode.
It is very difficult. I had a hard time separating my feelings for this episode and the series overall with this episode. When I did my good, my bad, my ugly,
you're getting into my good.
I did. I had
Stop talking. Stop talking. You're gonna take my good.
Okay, I'm gonna steer us back on point.
Listen
Marnell,
to him.
You have to wait.
He's totally gunning for my job.
So, in honor of Thomas joining us, I decided that Addie Miller should be our featured cast member this week. And
yay, Addie!
So a lot of people don't know this, and I didn't know this until Tom shared it, but there's actually a name for her character. Her character is named Summer. And what did you say about the rest of the title that I spit out? She's actually got another name that people commonly refer to her as.
Oh, Teddy Bear Girl.
Right, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious, though, because she picks up the teddy bear.
Thomas, did she get to keep the teddy bear? Do you know?
No, she actually, if you watch the video that I posted on Biters, I asked her, because she was like kind of reenacting how she walked and everything, and I asked her, I said, where's the teddy bear? And she said after they said cut, every single time someone would come and snatch the teddy bear away so that something wouldn't happen. And something else, something that her mom Jamie told me the other night, the bunny slippers that she wore, there were 3 pairs. So the very first take, it was raining out and there were puddles around, and when she was walking like they weren't filming. She was walking away and she stepped in a puddle and I guess ruined one of the pairs. So from that point on, for the rest of the shoot, someone on the set had to carry her around. They carried her so that she wouldn't step in any puddles.
Since there were 3 pairs, did she at least get a pair of bunny slippers?
Nope.
Oh!
It's funny too, because when I was with her and her mom last Labor Day, and we were at a charity thing, and I said, I really want one of those pairs of slippers. Because I have a big collection. I don't have anything screen used except like a couple bullets. And I said, I want one of those pairs of slippers. And their mom's like, well, you're going to have to fight me for them because I want a pair too. Nobody knows where they are. Like, they don't even... Addie has no idea where they are.
They're going to surface in an auction 50 years from now, like Judy Garland's, like, ruby slippers. Like, yeah, they're in a warehouse somewhere or in some private collection.
I'm thinking they're in Greg Nicotero's house somewhere.
I was just going to say...
That would be my guess.
Somebody needs to hit up Greg Nicotero or Yulin Womble.
I should have asked Greg during the finale.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have a chance on the cruise.
Well, we came up with the solution where I told Jamie, I said, I'll take one slipper, you take the other. So if we get a pair, then we'll split them.
I'm surprised she was willing to do that. Break up the
I
pair.
don't think she really was, but I'm gonna get them no matter what. So
right on.
I'll be nice and give them one.
She winds up with the right slipper still on after the shot, so maybe she'll get the right slipper.
Well, we'll see. She did her own. She did her own stunts too.
Did she really?
Addie,
that's amazing.
When the first idea was that instead of her turning around and being a long shot, it was going to be from her eyes as she turned around, but she wasn't able to not blink. And Frank Darabont kept saying, you have to not blink. So they ended up, they couldn't use that. And so they went with the long shot. But then when she falls back, when she first gets shot, she has to whip her head back and then fall. And someone had slid a mattress onto the ground. So she would fall onto the mattress and she couldn't see it. So she just had to trust that someone did it. Oh,
man.
And she's 10 years old at this point.
That was one of the things that I wanted to say. I wanted to point out to people that she was 10 when she filmed this.
She also then they had 2 cameras set up from different angles, and she had to climb up a ladder, and she had to fall back off of the ladder while they were filming. So she did it the very first time, and it was perfect, but they weren't running the cameras.
Oh, no.
So it took 6 tries until they finally got the shot. But they weren't running the cameras the first time. It was perfect.
Oh, why would you not run the cameras during rehearsal?
Exactly. Especially with the 10-year-old.
Nowadays. Yeah. And she's such a sweet girl now. And she's going to be a senior in high school next year.
And she's lovely.
And she has steady work. She's still working. She looks like she's coming up in Night of the Living Dead Genesis. So she will be in another zombie genre.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
she's going to Germany for Germany Comic-Con or something next week. Good. This upcoming weekend, actually.
And I know that Walker Stalker is talking about doing a Germany.
They're doing one, I think, next year.
Well, so I should be ashamed. I have not watched The Secret Life of Bees, but I've heard it's amazing, and Addie has a role in that. She was in the Hatfields and the McCoys. She has a pretty amazing pedigree already when you look at her IMDb page.
Dark Places with I think that was with Charlize Theron.
Yeah, which God.
I watched that one.
She's going somewhere. I mean, she's already created an iconic moment. But
she wants to go to Duke. She wants to go to Duke next year. Yep.
Wow.
That's her college choice.
So she also wants a horse, and I just wanted to say that if she ever wanted to come visit a horse in Alaska, she'd be welcome.
Well, I'm actually going to be having dinner with them in a couple weeks. I'll pass that along.
Right on. So, unless you have more you'd like to share about Addie, we should go on to our goods.
Oh, I think I've pretty much covered it. I mean, like I said, if you watch the video on that I put on the Biters page, that's last September, I think, we went to the spot where she was filming. And the funny thing, we're standing out there and she's kind of waddling around and we're all taking pictures. Someone from the gas station walks out the door and is like, "Oh, if you like The Walking Dead, there's pictures of that little girl inside here." So we all looked at her and we're like, "Oh yeah, that's the little girl right there."
That's awesome.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so if you watch that video, it's interesting because you see it, and it's like so hard to imagine because she's such a grown up now.
That's totally what I'm doing when we sign off.
Yeah,
I just didn't have access all day because I was at work. So
I came home and did my rewatch, and as I was surfing the rewatch, I was surfing Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, Thomas posted something," and I was like, "Oh crap, I have to watch that later." And now we're talking about it.
Well, it's an interesting watch. It's only a couple minutes long. So.
Well, so as the guest, why don't you lead us off with your good? We're going old school and doing good, bad, and ugly.
All right. My good from the premiere kind of encompasses the entire series, but to me, when I think of that premiere, all I can think about is like the imagery in the episode. Like there's so many iconic images in that. You have Rick on the horse riding down the highway. You have the "Don't Open Dead Inside" doors, which are on my car. I put them on each side of my car.
Awesome.
I have that written. You have Bicycle Girl. You have Addie as Teddy Bear Girl or Summer. I mean, the images from that. Those are like the most iconic images to me on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Not just even this show. I mean, everybody knows. I mean, not everybody. Most people would know "Don't Open Dead Inside."
Right.
I'm driving down the street. I drive down the street. It's on the side of my car. People are honking at me and like giving me a thumbs up.
That's awesome.
Well, and the thing about that is that you and I have not read the books, Thomas, but those are the most raved about parts because they are straight out of book 1 and 2 for the comics. So.
I have to be honest, I have, and I need to go back and reread that first volume. I've been purchasing them in volumes. Gotta do that too.
Well, this is a question then I have. If you've read them, Diane, is Addie seen in the books?
Well,
I didn't know if that was.
I'm gonna tell you, it's been a couple of years since I've read the first volume, so I can't honestly say yes or no. I'll have to answer that offline at some point when I reread.
Because I'm curious if they took that right out or if they just wanted something that was going to be shock. Because that scene, well, I'll get to that later. I don't want to ruin my ugly. So
Marnell, what's your good?
So my good was there was a scene, and I don't know if it was in the books or not, but when Rick arrives home and he's looking for Carl and Lori, he's still in his hospital gown and everything, and he collapsed to the floor and he's sobbing, and he says, "Is this real? Am I here?
It's just a dream." Yeah.
Right. And that for me, there was a couple of scenes in the episode, but none more so than this was. It was so real. That is such a natural reaction when you are dealing with a trauma like this, that you hope that it's a dream, that you're still in a coma, that you need to wake up. He slaps himself and he's like, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." And for me, that just put a stamp of realism on this, that just, it's heartbreaking, and it gives you that knot in your stomach, and that it took it to a real place for me, because I think that we have all been in a situation in our lives, whether we've lost a loved one or if we've had a traumatic fire or something like that, that you kind of have this surreal moment where you're like, is this really happening? And for me, when Rick did that, it brought me into the character for the moment. And I really identified with that. So that was my good for the episode.
It just makes it so realistic.
Yes.
I mean, like, I get people that say to me all the time, "I'll never watch a show about zombies. I'll never watch a show about zombies." I'm like, it's not about zombies.
That is totally my response.
It's a drama with zombies.
My first reaction is always, The movie Titanic wasn't about a sinking ship. The movie Titanic was a love story and an action story that happened to take place on a sinking ship. This is a story about people and about their characters and survival that happens to take place during a zombie apocalypse. You have to overlook the fact there's no such thing as a walker.
Right.
But other than that, everything else is real. Everything else, like if you watch Game of Thrones, you have dragons and all this stuff. It's not real. You know that it's not real. This is all real stuff, and it just happens to have walkers.
Right.
You know, I always say it's about the decay of society. It's about what happens when society collapses. And you're right. It just happens to be that the mechanism is the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
so just before Diane does this, just to go back for a second, I am about 20 pages into volume 1, and I don't see Addie's character. So that was a TV adaptation.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
it's a great way to start.
Yeah.
But I'll get into that later.
That was definitely the hook.
Well, I just wanted to agree about the Rick scene, because I was just rewatching the other night. I actually rewatched for this, and then I rewatched with a friend who had never seen The Walking Dead.
That's the best. That is the best.
I know.
I love when I get friends.
Yes.
I'll tell you a quick story. Not to interrupt, but my father is one of the people for 3 years told me I'll never ever watch a show about zombies. Never. He got a new TV last year that was a smart TV. So he had me come over. He's like, set up Netflix.
Oh, right.
So I set up Netflix. He's like, all right, we have to test it. He's like, put on that show you like. So I put on the first episode. We watched it. He wanted to watch the second one, so we watched the second one. I had to go home, so I left. The next morning, I'm at work, and I text him. I just wanted to make sure. I said, are you still able to get on? No, I said, are you still able to get on Netflix? The text I get back is, I'm almost done with season 2.
Awesome.
So it's the best when you watch with someone that hasn't watched.
You know, it was really interesting this time, though, because this person doesn't like horror as a genre. And so she was watching, you know, with her hands over her eyes and kind of that scared giggle when a zombie would come out or there'd be a scary moment. So it was really interesting watching it with someone who isn't invested in the series the way that we are. And
that's my mom.
I had never had that experience before, because usually what happens is I'll show it to somebody and then they're like, oh my God, we have to keep watching. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't the experience with this friend.
Now, my mother was looking for a new show to watch, and she said, oh, okay, your father's watching it. You watch it. She started it, told me she didn't make it past the first commercial break before she shut it off. She'd have nightmares.
Wow. You know, I actually have a good friend in Seattle who won't watch, and she's like, I loved the comic books. I think it's a great idea. I can't watch the series because I will have nightmares.
Yeah, I don't have that problem. I am a horror fan.
You're a junkie.
Yeah.
Well, wait, aren't you the one that listens to the Murderers podcast?
Oh my God! But you know who turned me on to My Favorite Murder? Marnell did.
Yeah, so there you go.
Diane turned me on I was thinking about this today. Diane actually turned me on to Biters. She's like, you gotta listen. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, you gotta listen. And I finally listened, and of course I was hooked, and of course now I'm on it. And so it's come full circle that now I get her hooked on a podcast.
I really do like it. It's a great podcast.
Hopefully you won't be featured on that one.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
As a guest, I'd be fine with that. As a feature story, no thank you.
We live in the Northwest, though. That seems to be where they grow serial killers. So,
and you know, I actually read an article the other day that was posted to their Facebook page. Here we're wandering again, but Alaska actually has the highest per capita rate. You know, when you adjust for population, we have the highest number of serial killers per population. Isn't that special?
Well, there are so many places to dispose a body, you know?
Oh, my God. All right. So, on to the
So I want to say
the
about
bads?
No. So I haven't done my good, but I also want to say about
okay.
Rick that watching it with my friend, who is also a healthcare provider, who's not invested in the show, I was watching Rick's breakdown, thinking that is exactly how someone who comes out of a coma to this would respond. It would totally, you would still think it's a coma dream.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to say my good was Morgan and his family. So just the devastation of seeing his wife as a zombie, but also when he goes back upstairs with the gun that Rick gave him and is trying to bring himself to put his wife down, he looks through all of these pictures of them together as a family. And I think The Walking Dead, in a very small moment in the pilot, did such a great job of creating that family and of creating that feeling of connection. And I think those photographs were a really big part of it.
Yeah. And that actually was not in the books either. I did do some reading on that scene. And so that was a screen adaptation for Morgan's character.
Right. Morgan does show up, but he shows up later.
No, he shows up immediately.
Oh, does he really?
Him and Dwayne. The whole thing plays out exactly the same, where he finds Rick and everything. But
okay, so obviously I totally need to reread it.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here flipping through the book.
Yeah, I need to read it in general. I haven't started.
But I was thinking about that moment too, and the character of Jenny is completely that's from the show. It's completely fictionalized. It's not in the book. But could you now, 7 seasons in, we're all jaded, and you're going to shoot anyone in the head that has a sniffles? Could you shoot your turned spouse a month into the zombie apocalypse? Because, like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, like, why would you let her be that way? Why wouldn't you just put her down and put her out of her misery? I mean, that's not her anymore. There's nothing there. That's not Jenny anymore. Could you? I mean, a month in.
I already shot her. I wouldn't have hesitated. I mean, because Morgan's a smart character. He knows what's going on.
Right.
He knows that they're not. He tells Rick what's going on, so he knows that she's not her, and he knows that she will try to attack people.
He's so ruled by emotion, and we even see that now in his character, that he's so ruled by his emotion a lot of times that I see why he can't do it. You know, the mother of a son, when he's up and he's shooting the walkers and he's looking for Jenny, and Dwayne's like, Daddy, what's going on? You know, I'm just like,
come up here.
Yeah.
Come up here.
I'm like, why don't you just tell him you're doing target practice and just stay down there? Like, why do you have to make a big deal of it? But I don't know. A month in, I mean, even Rick, after seeing Bicycle Girl, and this is a part of my writing potpourri, so I'm getting ahead of myself. But after seeing Bicycle Girl, she's got no lower half, you know.
But he goes back and he does it.
Mm-hmm.
But he still asks the next morning. He's like, "Are we sure they're dead?"
Oh,
No.
He asked that before he went back and put Bicycle Girl down.
He did.
He was on his own. He was on his own when he put her down.
Yeah.
He had seen her. Yeah, he was riding his bike to his house.
When he first took her bike, he was flipped out, he fell down.
Yeah.
And
he didn't do anything about it.
Even after seeing her, the very next day, he asked Morgan, "Are we sure they're dead?" You know, so
he just came out of the coma, though. I give him a little slack. Morgan knows what's going on.
Point taken. But I'm just like, even Morgan says to Rick, if you come out of a coma and you're just hearing this for the first time,
it's
you know,
you sound crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know a month in if I could do it, but I mean, of course, definitely 8 seasons in, you know, double tap to the head.
I would hope that I could, because I really see it as an act of mercy.
Right.
But I also think that doing what I do for a living and recognizing that there are truly times that death is an act of mercy, I would hope that I could do it.
Right. But I mean, you're seeing reanimated corpses up walking around. And at this point in the zombie apocalypse, they are still having human behaviors. Summer still picks up her teddy bear. Jenny still jiggles the doorknob. That's not behavior we're seeing in walkers now.
Now you're getting into my bad.
Well, let's go. It's time to start the bad. So you start.
My bad, and you can see this again if you watch the video of Greg after the finale. Someone asks him about the walkers in season 1.
That they still have some human characteristics.
Addie picks up the teddy bear. Yeah. They use the rocks to smash windows. They're running after Glenn and Rick in the Guts episode when they're wearing the first, what do you call the meat ponchos. Mm-hmm. And Greg's answer was they hadn't figured out the rules yet. Now, to me, if you're starting up a TV show, you should figure out the rules before you start filming the first episode.
Especially since you have source material.
Right. Not just that, but I mean, you're filming an episode that you're in charge of the zombies. Number one, you shouldn't. And I don't mean to. God, I don't mean to down Greg Nicotero. Yeah, because he's a genius and he's like an amazing guy. But I mean, personally, I think that's my. I mean, and I'm nitpicking for the bad because I think it is one of the best pilots ever made.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm nitpicking for my bad too, so don't worry about it.
But I mean, how do you not have the rules set? Because you don't want it to change. You don't want season 2 to have different walkers. My
only thing is like I don't think they knew what a juggernaut that they had. You know, they had 6 episodes for the first season. I don't know if they thought this was going to go anywhere, that the world was ready for this. You know,
right? But you still need. Yeah. But if you're gonna do that, then for the rest of the seasons, have it the same way.
Right.
Like, I mean, stay consistent one way or the other.
Right, where the newly created walkers do have some semblance of their human selves.
Right. Now they're complete shells of themselves. Nobody would pick up anything. They don't use rocks. They can't climb fence, and they certainly don't run.
Right.
And they don't. Yeah, they don't twist doorknobs or pick up teddy bears or or
even know to go back to. This is my old house.
Yeah, definitely.
So the one question or comment that I have about that is, for some reason, I seem to recall that it was attributed to Frank Darabont and a directorial choice. Is that just me misremembering?
Well, when Greg answered at the bar, he said they hadn't figured out the rules yet.
Okay.
And he said Frank actually said to him during, I think it was Night of the Living Dead, when the first zombies appear, they were using rocks to try and break the windows for I guess car. Barbara.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, so if they do it there, we can do it here. So that was Frank's idea, and they said, okay, that's fine, but I don't know. After that.
And yeah, I would be okay with it if it would continue on. Like when Laurie's sister dies, if maybe she had, recognized something in Laurie immediately, know.
And she kind of did too. That if you really want, I don't know when they established the rules, but when Emma Bell died or Amy dies, she comes back. You can see in her eyes she kind of. Like, she doesn't go right away to bite Andrea.
Right.
There's a recognition.
She's just kind of like, there's some type of recognition there. So I think they probably came up with the rules after they realized, hey, season 1 was great. We're going to do 12 more seasons of this.
This is huge, and we're not going to be able to stop.
Let's come up with some set of rules.
Yeah.
So that was my bad. I mean, but I'm nitpicking because, like I said, it's the best pilot in the history of TV.
And like I said, I'm having to nitpick my bad also because this, like I said, I rated a 5 and I don't rate 5s, but this episode just hooked me and I loved everything about it. There were some minor things that I don't know if you want to call them cinematic goofs or whatever, and things you had to kind of gloss over. But there were 2 scenes for my bad, and one of them was the spike strip scene where prior to the zombie apocalypse, the other sheriff's department from the other county or whatever is chasing, and Shane and Rick put out spike strips, and they leave them there. And okay, so the GTO hits it and flips, and then you see the 2 or 3 cop cars behind it chasing them at a very close distance. Did not hit the spike strips. Nobody was there to pull the spike strips away, and there was no time to avoid the spike strips. So it's one of those things that it irks me that I know that they should have hit the spike strips too.
Right.
And they didn't. And so it's just, it kind of irks me. And then the other one was in the hospital, and I think Diane can back me up on this one, where Rick wakes up and he's got an IV. He's been a month in a coma. He's got no catheter. He's got no diaper. He's got no feeding tube. Nothing. He's got an IV.
You actually stole part of my bad. Yeah.
And again, this is totally nitpicking, but this happens every time. It's same thing.
Hey, I worked in a hospital. I know.
Same thing. In 28 days later, they did the same thing. And I know that Nicotero said that he had an issue with leaving that scene in because it was so similar that scene in the comic books, not just in the show, but in the comic books. And he actually, years later, he regrets leaving that in because it was so similar. He didn't think that anyone would call back to it, but I think that 28 Days Later was so big, and then Walking Dead was so big that the comparison was made. And they came out at such similar times that I really, really do not think that Greg ripped it off or anything. I think it was a way to start the storytelling where the viewer is kind of lost, and it puts our hero and the viewer on the same level where you don't know what happened. And so I'm totally fine with them being similar and everything, but they did the same thing where they wake up a month into a coma, and they just have a little IV in their arm.
Right, no food, nothing but dead flowers.
Yeah. A catheter at the very least.
Right.
They can pull a catheter out.
So my bad was that, and it was essentially nitpicky too, but it was the hospital stuff. He wasn't soiled. I mean, his gown, even though he'd been in his gown for a month, he was still clean. Okay, come on, you guys. And you're right.
And he could walk.
Right.
He could walk completely fine.
Right.
He had
that little bit of a limp.
Atrophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and another thing, and I know this is really, really small, but I'm like, why would there be matches at the nurse's station? Somebody explain to me why there's a book of matches at the nurse's station. No.
You know how many doctors smoke?
Yeah, I just don't think they leave them sitting at the nurse's station.
No, that one I know so many doctors and nurses that smoke.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
I mean, I do too, but I don't know. I guess everything falls apart in the ZA, right? So they're going to leave their matches wherever.
The fact that he found it that quick too.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course we see in the scene when everyone's in the sheriff's office showering, and Morgan says that about a month ago the gas line shut off, and so we know that we're at least a month in, and the hospital still has running water and power.
Right.
And okay, I know that hospitals have generators, but I don't think that they last a month.
I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
I think they Kirkman or someone I think said it was about 3.5 weeks that he was in a coma.
Okay. Yeah. So I know that I've said it before and said again, you have to suspend your disbelief for the zombie apocalypse, but I can't go as far as having a unicorn in the zombie apocalypse and having power and water and no catheter in the zombie apocalypse. Just that was a little too much suspension.
That's
for
what
me.
Gotcha.
That's so funny. No catheter.
It's not the half eating bicycle girl. It's the no catheter that got you.
Yep. Oh, and speaking of half-eaten, the nurse that he sees in the hallway, the first dead body that he sees, she did not have a wound to her head unless it was to the very back of her head, and she was half-eaten. So I kind of was hoping that she would get up and start crawling towards him, but she didn't. So
okay, so this is a rotting potpourri moment. She looks like a Jack the Ripper victim. She does. If you look at some of the pictures of the victims that he really, really worked on, she looks like one of his victims.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're listening too much to that other podcast.
Yeah, that's a little beyond Dateline ID, guy.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I'll say about the hospital stuff is there actually were a couple of things that I noticed that were really cool. So if you look at Rick's lower legs when he's rolling out of the bed, he's got it's either tape residue or it's bruises, but he's got something discoloring his shins. So I thought, okay, that's cool. That's legit.
Yeah.
And then as he's going down the stairs, you can totally see where his where his feet are just chewed up from wearing those boots, which I thought was kind of cool.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
His feet are really red and it almost looks like he's forming bunions.
Interesting. So, and going back a little bit to the hospital, it's kind of interesting. I got to thinking about what if Rick had never been shot and he had experienced the beginning of the apocalypse with everyone else? And what if, his room hadn't been blocked by that gurney? I keep going back and I what if the whole thing, at different points. And it's just, I wonder what would have been if, XYZ hadn't have happened.
And you don't even know why the gurney was in front of the door till
the end.
Was it was it season 2?
No, I think it actually shows it in the finale of season 1.
It showed it in one where Shane did that?
Yeah. I think it's the very last episode of season 1.
You guys have way better recall than I do.
Oh, it's hit or miss.
Yeah,
for me.
there was a flashback where Shane went to get Rick out, and he couldn't, and he ended up pushing the gurney in front of the door to keep people out.
Yeah.
God, I hate it when Shane does good stuff because I hate it so bad. So, Thomas?
Yes.
You're ugly.
And ugly can be good or bad.
Well, my ugly is obviously good.
Right.
And we've touched so much upon it already. The opening scene. To me, I mean, like I've said, there's no better opening scene to a TV show. And groundbreaking. You're never allowed to shoot a girl. They shot her. Mm-hmm. I mean, the image, and it sets the tone for the entire series. Like, if you turn this show on thinking it's going to be something, and you see the opening scene where this cop shoots this little girl point blank in the head, I mean, it tells you what this show is going to be for God knows how many seasons they're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene, it doesn't get any better than that scene.
We talked about this prior to recording. So, and I had heard this too, Thomas, and you had said it completely independently. And I think you said that Addie had talked about it, that it was foreboding to actually shoot a child or to kill a child outright on TV, and it had to be argued.
We didn't. That was before. That was before we were recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now it's my memory that's going.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not allowed to shoot a kid point blank on TV. That's why when you see The Grove, where Melissa McBride shoots
Lizzie.
Oh, I forgot it. Lizzie.
Yeah.
You don't see that. You hear the gun go off, but you don't see it. So they didn't want to use the opening scene to this show. And Frank Darabont had to go, I believe it was Frank Darabont, had to go in and argue and say, hey, look, this isn't a little girl. It's a monster. There's nothing, there's no rules about shooting a monster. Yeah. And finally they let it in.
And could you imagine this show without that scene?
No.
I couldn't. To me, there's maybe 5 iconic scenes in the show, and that tops them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, there's Daryl carrying Beth out out the hospital, I think, is one of the iconic ones. Maybe Sophia coming out of the barn.
Oh, God, yes.
But I don't think anything tops that opening scene with Summer and Rick. It just sets the tone.
Hook. Yeah. That was what brought you in.
Because I mean, also with the episode, you have that scene where it's like, I think Diane said before, your jaw drops.
Yes.
And then the episode, I mean, I'll say the very beginning of the episode is a little slow. You have the dialogue with Shane and Rick, and they have to build the characters up. It's a little slow, but you still have your jaw dropped from that opening scene.
Yeah.
And I have to say, your ugly is my ugly for the same reasons, Tom, because there's just not a more shocking, noteworthy, amazing moment of television. And I also think that they totally solidified the place of the cold open in TV with that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't even in order. Like, they took that scene. It happened later on in the story, but they started with that scene, and then they went back and caught up.
Yes.
Which I loved.
And that's funny that you mentioned that, because on my rewatch tonight, right before, I was trying to fit that in this episode, because I was like, hey, wait a minute. When he pulls over to the gas station, he's at a 4-way intersection, and there's a bunch of overturned trucks and stuff like that. But when he pulls over later in the episode, it goes to the farmhouse. It's just the side of the road. And so I'm like, where does that scene fit in? And so, again, your guys' recall is much, much better than mine. I
believe after he shoots her is when because he can't get gas. There's no gas at the gas station. Right. I believe that's when he goes to the house and sees the people that are dead. And then here's the horse. And that's where he gets the horse.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm pretty sure that's where it fits in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen the episode like God knows how many times. and my jaw still drops every time he shoots Addie in the head.
Now go back and watch it in black and white, you two.
Yeah, no kidding.
It adds a creep factor to it.
So, Marcus... Oh, go ahead.
We've actually gone over my ugly. My ugly was when Rick had to ask the next day that if they're really dead. Like that.
Okay.
For me, I just was already like, really? Like, I mean, I know it would be very difficult, especially coming out of a coma, suspending your disbelief that the dead are walking. But yeah, just everything that he has seen up until that point. I don't know if I would have to ask that question again.
So it was a bad ugly.
Yeah, it was a bad ugly.
So it's a 4.9 out of 5.
Oh, no. I'm totally being nitpicky at that point. And like I said, we've already gone over it. So we can move on to Diane's.
No, I already said mine, which is the same as Tom. It's the scene with Addie.
So... what does that smell?
I think that we might have a little bit of time left for rotten potpourri.
Just a little. This is a 90-minute episode, and you know, I heard that they had tried
Blame
to
me. Blame me.
No. The show.
It's my stories. It's my... Oh, you're talking about the TV show.
No, but
okay.
we're also going to have a 90-minute podcast episode, so it's totally in keeping with the episode for the show.
And this is kind of a mid-season filler show, so this will give everyone a chance to
all 10 listeners are probably tuned out by now.
Yeah.
But rotten potpourri.
Rotten potpourri. So we talked.
You were going to talk about a Leon Bassett moment.
That's what I was just going to ask.
Mark.
What was his name?
Oh, no, go ahead. Go right ahead.
The one thing that I can never unsee in this show, and I hate the tour company. Remember, I told you I went on a tour, and the walkers pointed out, and while you're driving from destination to destination, they show scenes, and they show places that you're going to see. And they showed that scene outside the jail where Rick puts down Leon Bassett. And they said, now watch carefully. And I can never unsee it. I'm going to tell you, and you will never be able to unsee it. I'm going to completely ruin it for you. But when you watch as Rick shoots him, blood starts to come out the back of his head, it vanishes in midair.
Oh,
like
now
I'm telling you, you'll never be able to unsee it. You watch it, he shoots him, the blood starts to come out, and then all of a sudden it just disappears out of thin air.
Man.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, for those of you who because we had talked about it before the episode, Leon Bassett is the deputy that Rick had to tell to take his safety off, and later on in the episode, he has to put him down as a walker. So that's amazing that you got to see that. That's funny.
You'll never not be able to see it again. Every time you watch and you get to that point, you will see it. I guarantee it. Because once they showed it to me on the bus, it's like, all right, every time I watch the episode now, that I'm looking for it at that point.
That's funny.
And now every single biter who's listened to this episode will have the same experience.
Exactly.
See, and they tried to cut the budget in season 2.
Right.
Dang. So was it crazy to go back on the rewatch to look at everybody and see their baby faces?
Oh my God, Glenn.
Oh,
all
everybody.
Except Shane,
Clean
right?
shaven.
Yeah, Shane. Shane looked the same.
Glenn was clean shaven. Looked like he just delivered a pizza. I mean, he looked so young.
And Rick looked young.
Rick
and
too.
Carl was young. Yeah,
I don't know how old Carl was when he started.
Well, so how old is Chandler now? Is he like 15,
I think he's
16?
17.
No, he's older than that.
Oh, is he?
He's older than that.
Okay.
1999. So June 1999.
Actually,
18.
Yeah, you know what? He just got into college. That's right.
Oh,
so
that's right.
He just graduated high school. So he's probably 17, 18.
Yeah, he'll be 18 June 27th.
Okay.
So that means he was about 11. He was about Addie's age.
He looks so much younger, though.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a baby face. That's
and he's
so
grown funny. so much in 7 years on the show.
Has.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you know how they make him appear smaller?
No, they must do it with just kind of how they stage things, with how they stage the scenes.
Nope. There's another tidbit they gave us on the tour. His hat, every season, his hat gets bigger.
Oh,
they make the hat bigger. The brim is bigger, and it makes him look a little smaller.
That's funny.
Oh, that's clever. That is very, very clever. Yeah, I started watching the episode and I'm like, oh, look how young Rick looks, compared to now. His face. He's still such a handsome guy, Andrew Lincoln, but his face is so weathered now, and it just, everybody who's still on, of course, is just they're hardened and it just. Yeah, 8 years into the zombie apocalypse.
Even the logo of the show every year gets hardened and hardened.
I wrote that down, for fans that don't immerse themselves in the culture like we do. If you go back and watch the season 1 logo, now do they do it every episode or is it just per season?
Per season, it gets worse and worse.
Yeah, so the logo for the episode and the title credits, it deteriorates along with the world and the zombies. Every season they do something to change the zombies to make them look slightly different from the previous season, and they do that with the title credits also. So if you'll notice the Walking Dead credits now, there are pieces missing and it looks burned and bloody and things like that. And the title episode, or the title of the episode in the beginning, is totally clean. The Walking Dead.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's shot.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where it ends up.
It's going to be a blank screen. Season 20, it's going to just say the.
But Herschel's pocket watch will still be there.
Exactly.
So we talked a lot about Addie, Summer, the teddy bear girl's death. But and of course, her death actually kind of comes a little later chronologically. One of the first walkers that he kills is Bicycle Girl. And
when's the first walker that he sees?
Right.
Well, I guess unless you count the hands in the door.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but he doesn't really see those.
Right.
And of course, they're just hands, and they could be living or crazy, or you can't believe that that's actually a dead person reanimated, but it's very obvious that Bicycle Girl, is a dead person who has reanimated.
Well, there's only half of her there.
Right. I mean, she's dragging a femur, and that's like it for that half. But we are still, it's so funny to have seen all 7 seasons and to come back to where we began. And there was still emotion behind killing somebody, behind putting them down. It was still, that person had still been a human being and had a life, right. And you felt bad for killing them. And he even said, "I'm sorry this happened to you." Mm-hmm. And it was just, for me, that was a very good scene. Again, that was a real human scene, just like when he wanted to wake up, it was something that I could imagine myself doing, he sought her out to put her out of her misery, to put her down. He went to the area where she had been and she was no longer there, and he followed the trail. And he shot her in the head, and there was remorse in his eyes for that. And it was a very real scene to me. And I really appreciate those little parts in this episode. That
she even seemed like she wanted it. She kind of pushed her head up against it. She was like, "Please do it."
Right.
When do you guys think that changed? When do you think the remorse changed for our characters? I kind of feel like it was season 2. Oh, really? I was thinking at the end of season 2 or probably
I think it was
2.
more. I think it was definitely in 2 because I think it came from Shane.
Shane coming back, or Shane just being willing to kill.
Shane, right? Shane being willing. He knew right off the bat that these things were bad, and he didn't have any remorse. I mean, look at what he did to Otis.
Right. I mean, my God.
He had no remorse whatsoever.
Also, one of the best scenes in this show.
Yeah. When he's shaving his head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, actually, go ahead, Martin.
You guys are right. There's actually the little synopsis for Judge, Jury, and Executioner in season 2, episode 11. Dale fears the group is losing its humanity as Rick and the others vote to execute Randall.
Right.
So, it was towards the end of season 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I'm going to ask you to weigh in, Thomas, because I'm pretty sure Marnell has weighed in on this. Do you think that Shane and Laurie were having an affair before the ZA, or do you think it all started after Rick was supposedly dead?
I think it was after.
Do you? Okay.
I think... which is to me a little weird because it happened so quick.
Mm-hmm. So quick, thank you. Oh, validation.
But I don't think there were. I think Shane had his eye on her, but I don't think he actually ever did anything with her.
Well, Shane was a douchebag with horrible taste in women to begin with.
Because remember, Shane, when in one of the first scenes, Shane was asking how are things with Laurie.
But that could also be fishing.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. I think he had his eye on her from the start, but I don't think he did anything.
It sounded like he just, no matter how many women he dated, he just kept dating the same woman over and over. And for as much as I hate Laurie, it wasn't, they weren't to the level of Laurie. They weren't, as mature, that whole diatribe of like, they won't turn the lights off and, he just, that whole scene just that really set it up really well for me to hate Shane, because if there's one thing I can't stand, it's a misogynist, We're all jerks. We're all jerks equally, regardless of our sex.
I think it's really funny, though, that you think badly of the women that Shane is talking about, because I think all it does is show what a jerk Shane is. We don't really have any idea what those women are like, other than his interpretation.
That's what I'm saying.
But what did Shane do that was really that bad? I mean, aside from hooking up with Lori right after they think Rick's dead. I mean, you don't know what the story is with what happened with all these other women with Shane.
But he seems like he keeps having the same fights with women over and over. So it's like they
won't turn the light off.
He needs a type. He has a type.
Well, and he seems like he doesn't like women very much.
Well, to me, he seems like a typical player to me.
But I have a friend who has a history of this, and he's gotten much, much better. And I will not reveal his name. I absolutely love him to death. But he kept dating women that were like 10 years younger than him and wondering why they were so immature. You know, that all they wanted to do was go out to the bar and have fun, and like they didn't want to settle down, and that seems to me like Shane's type, where he kept dating the same woman. Like it's almost like he picked him on looks. I don't know what any of these women look like, but maybe he was attracted to like just the same woman, and he didn't have enough inner forethought or something that is I'm not articulating at this point, but there was something in him that kept going back to the same well, and he kept getting the same result, and it just that says something about him, not the women.
Well, that's kind of how guys are. I mean, once you get to a certain point, you don't change.
Unless the zombie apocalypse happens, and then you pick up your dead partner's wife.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And have a child.
Yeah.
Judith is Shane.
Right. That was a big reveal.
Yeah. Yeah.
John Bernthal's been saying it all along, but
yeah, he has.
No.
He has said that at so many Walker Stalker cons when they ask him. He's like, it's obviously
math, Judith wasn't premature.
So.
Well, I think all of Shane's previous girlfriends had long, straight, dark hair, blue eyes, and they were excessively thin.
I don't know. I saw them as blonde, but
I saw them as
you
blonde
could be
too.
right.
Oh no, I was just totally saying that they're Lori clones.
But 10 years younger.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Lori's good at turning off lights. Rick tells us that.
Yeah.
Turning off lights and turning on men in uniform.
Oh my god. You're so bad.
So I think that we've actually, other than we've kind of muddled this episode and the next episode, because the series premiere was actually supposed to be 2 hours, but they did have to cut it down, and I don't remember why. But so we didn't get to see Glenn this episode, but we heard that iconic.
You got to hear him. Yep.
Yes.
Dumbass.
Hey,
yep.
Yep. Hey, you dumbass.
I can say dumbass.
You can say dumbass on Biters.
Okay.
Yep.
You can quote the show. But yeah,
and I love how they called back to that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back when you thought Glenn was going to die with the dumpster scene.
Yep.
Oh, I thought Glenn was going to die in the well.
Glenn was going to die about 4 different times.
I know. Like, that poor guy. They did so many things to him. I mean, starting with the meat poncho and, ending under the dumpster.
He had to survive long enough to get
And I really thought he was going to die in the episode where it was the mid-season premiere, I think of 6. The one where everybody's fighting the walkers in Alexandria, and he runs in to save Maggie, and Enid climbs up and helps her, and he's cornered.
Oh,
and I
right.
completely forgot about Abraham and everyone else, and then they automatically appear and start shooting all the walkers and save them again.
But it did totally look like he was going to die. It looked like Maggie was going to get
sure
that glimpse of him, and then he was dead.
I even said before that episode, I said, I think Glenn's going to die trying to save Maggie. And then it was happening in front of me, and I'm like, oh my God, he is. The guy's got more lives than a cat.
Had more lives.
Had, yes.
Had, yes. May he rest in peace. He was my favorite character. You know, I'm a Daryl girl all the way, but you know, realistically, I mean, Glenn was the go-getter. He was the one, you know, they sent out on the missions, and he, you know, he knew the city, and they lowered him down the well, and he was the guy.
See, I couldn't pick a favorite character because, I mean, I've met basically all of them, and to separate between. I mean, I knew Emily Kinney very well because she used to sing a lot in New York, and I would see her all the time. So when she died, I was heartbroken. Mm-hmm. And I've always liked Christian as Rosita, but she was kind of pissing me off last season. But it's just too hard to pick them. I mean, all the characters are so well written.
Mm-hmm. They are.
Except for the garbage people. I mean, we won't even get into those.
God.
And you know, Diane, I did watch a movie with Pollyanna in it.
Oh,
so
no. So we're gonna have to talk about that at some point.
We are. We're gonna have to.
She had a normal language in that one, right?
And you know, she is a really good actress, and I really do like her outside of the Walking Dead universe. So, but
I just can't stand that whole language up and all that.
It's stupid.
That just.
Okay,
that bothers me.
It is very like Mad Max, right? Like, I'm not exaggerating in that she's like the Tomorrow Morrow people. Did you ever see Mad Max?
I saw Mad Max a long time ago. Nothing recent. Nothing that I could recall.
Yeah, I don't think it was Beyond Thunderdome. It was Road Warrior, I think. Maybe. I don't know, but that clipped like post-apocalyptic, but like 150 years into the future when we've lost language, not 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody talks funny in that group. It's like some people you would think would talk normal.
And I did see kind of an explanation for it in that they're differentiating themselves as a group in their dress, that they use vehicle grease, car grease in their hair, their clipped language, and something else. And it's to make themselves more cohesive as a group. And it's actually something that cults use to make their group more cohesive. And so I get what they're trying to do. It was just really poorly executed.
Yeah, it's so out there. It just stood out. When something stands out like that, then it's not done right.
Right. Yeah. Sore thumb. You're exactly right.
It should blend in if it's going to be something like that.
We can't wait till they get their comeuppance in season 8.
Well, you don't know because she was made a featured main cast
regular.
member now.
Yeah.
Oh. Her Enid and Xander Berkeley, Gregory.
Oh, I didn't realize that he'd been made main cast as well.
Wow.
All three of them were made main cast.
I thought Gregory was done for here shortly.
Well, you never know because another podcast I listened to had mentioned that
what?
They thought
you cheater.
I listened to 5 podcasts.
I listened to 3 Walking Dead podcasts, so I get it, man. I totally get it.
Fighters is the only one I listen to. Until today, when I had to go find the one. Go ahead.
I listened to like 5 podcasts. And I was listening to one of them, and they had mentioned that they think Gareth, Andrew J. West, was made main character.
Oh, okay.
Right before he died, like 3 episodes into season 5.
So being made a series regular doesn't mean anything, really.
Right, it could be just to throw people off.
You're not a made man. This isn't the mafia.
You never know.
No. Maybe they'll kill off all of the Garbage Patch Kids and keep Pollyanna, like in the cell or something, and until she just becomes far too annoying, and then they'll kill her.
She'll be the only wife.
She's already there.
Yeah. She'll be the only wife Negan has left.
She'll be with Negan in the cell.
Yeah.
Or they'll send her to Seaside and be like, here's another chick for you.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, we are almost at an hour 40, so I'm going to encourage us to wrap it up, especially because I know it's past midnight where you are, Tom.
I'm usually up late. Well, we were going to do this Thursday.
Right.
But...
My other half broke his foot in 2 places, and we decided to go out drinking to ease the pain.
Good excuse.
Yeah. Too bad it wasn't mine.
Oh.
But I just wanted to say thank you to Thomas
Yes.
for coming on the episode with us.
Well,
we totally envy your life and the things that you get to do with The Walking Dead.
Well,
you're going to do the whole...
You guys get to host a podcast. So.
But you're going to do the whole season 1 retrospective with us, right?
Oh, am I?
That's what I thought. That's totally what I had signed up for.
Oh, all right. I mean, I'm down for it.
I'm down.
I just got to... I think I went through half a bottle of Jameson tonight, so I got to get a little more for the rest.
So we're going to have to send you a bottle of Jameson's.
Everyone, Thomas did so well. He was so nervous before this. You guys need to go and give him some positive feedback on the Biters page.
Absolutely.
No death threats.
No death threats. No, don't drive him off social media.
I'll cancel my Instagram and my Twitter.
So give us a like, give us a share. We have some new biters to the page. We've gotten a lot of likes lately, so thank you. Welcome, new listeners. Yeah. Go and check out all of Thomas's envy-worthy pictures and videos that he posts, and share us with your friends. And thank you for listening.
And remember,
take it one
dead day at a time.
I'm way off. That was horrible.